Hey, welcome to the Pharmacy Residency and Money podcast, a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. I'm Tony Guerra, pharmacist and publisher, bringing you help succeeding in your career, health, and wealth before, during, and after residency. You can sign up for the email list at pharmacyresidencypodcast.com to get your free LOI template or get editing help working one-on-one with me at residency.teachable.com. All right, so what I wanted to go over today is I think what happens with ASHP Midyear is you get kind of caught up in it and you go to everything and you do the best you can, but you forget what the most important thing that you're trying to do is, and you're trying to get the next step. And the next step is to get an interview for a residency. So, what can you do on Saturday? What can you do on Sunday? What can you do on Monday, and so forth? So let's start with Saturday. Saturday is really just, people arriving early. That is really not the day. Sunday, there is quite a bit of student programming, and I think that can be somewhat helpful when you get into it. But if you look at the sessions, I think that it really comes down to what is it that can make you more aware of the things that you need to do to get that interview to match for the residency and so forth. So if you're not really that familiar with forecasts, I think it's pretty good if you would be able to go to the session from 10 to 11. I think the misunderstanding is with the match especially about how the match works. Once you get an interview, you get interviewed and they make a decision and you make a decision. But the biggest problem is that, okay, you've sent in your application, you've gone and interviewed. It's the weirdest interview ever. They're like, we'll let you know. And they actually don't even let you know. Somebody else lets you know. So it's a tremendous waiting game. So the thing is okay, well, what can I do to get an interview? And what can I do to keep top of mind? Because the most likely thing that's going to happen is that you're going to get forgotten. Now, when you go to the showcase, this becomes evident. And I don't think you really get it until you go to the showcase if you haven't been there before. When you're like, okay, I'm applying for this thing, right? But rarely in any job interview do you ever get to actually go with all the people that are applying against you. And when you see the massive number of people going in there, and there are some crazies that are like, have to get there first. And honestly, you could go in a half hour later and it would just be the same. Or instead of going to what I would call kind of the ones that are most well-known, you go to the ones that are least well-known and go to those first. Because honestly, there's just this crazy start to it, and then it just kind of fizzles out. I don't remember what the movie was, but there was a movie where there was this long horse race in the desert. And so the horses, start off as if they're going to, they're all sprinting or whatever. And then after about a mile, they stop and they just start walking. And I don't remember who the actor was, but he's just basically like, yeah, I knew it. And it's the same thing here. It is the residency showcase. It is not the residency applicant showcase. The best thing you can do is not as much make connections and everything, because they're going to get overwhelmed. They're not going to remember you. They often shred resumes and CVs that are given to them. But what they will do is, if you find out that there is an evening thing and you can get an invitation to that. So, for example, my alma mater, Maryland, is having a thing on Monday, right? There are a number of residency directors there. They're going to go to the thing. Right? That's a more casual place to actually meet someone and talk to someone and learn about it. You're going to find out a couple of things. I did the residency rubric was my last episode, but they actually have a problem a lot of times, which is the rubric scores too many people too high. And what I mean by that is 80% of the applicants are tied still. Once you get to it, it's not like, oh, well, we'll just take the best scores. Well, everybody scores too high a lot of times. And so it comes down to, well, do you know anybody? Well, I met somebody at this thing, or I know somebody from them working at Maryland Medical Center or things like that. So everything here, especially for the introverts, is going to be about finding time to meet the people that are, going to be taking care of of the interviews and inviting people. So I think that it's nice that they're doing these things to kind of give you a heads up on a lot of things. But honestly, what you need to be doing is meeting people. And I know that for many of you, that is really tough. So let's talk a little bit about what's going to happen the next day. So that's student programming on Sunday. Then there's the opening session, and that's kind of cool. You get really fired up. Dr. Sanjay Gupta, who is a famous author, famous physician. It was really cool. My Memorizing Pharmacology book was next to his for like a weekend because they put it on like the Audible sale or whatever, where you can get like it for some huge discount or something. And because of that, my sales went up for the weekend. Like, it was like crazy. It was like 100 books a day, 200 books a day, whatever it was. And it was right around where his book was. And that was, like it just faded out. But it was really cool. Like it was up there for just a little while. Now, you might be so excited to see the student posters, which if you are a lower year, not a final year student, that might be a good idea to see what it is that people are doing and just take a picture of the poster. And really, there's nothing really new. It's like, it's the same posters by different people every year for student posters. Like it's like hypertension and smoking cessation and many ambulatory things that happen. It's really tough. Some people do get the hospital ones in there. Maybe they have some ties with the hospital and so forth. But really, it's just more about like, okay, well, what would I do for a poster? And then on the other side of the people presenting the posters, it's one of those things that really checks the highest box when it comes to that piece of research and so forth, where, if you have a publication or you present it at ASHP. The residency showcase itself, again, the first one will be overwhelming from 1 to 4. And it's really, really just, okay, you get an idea of what's going on, but go backward from the places that you like the super crazy ones. They're not really like, it's going to be like 6-7 people deep at some of them, and go to the ones that you're just like, okay, I just want to kind of see what it is to talk to a residency program director and so forth. But the other thing I would invite you to do is use your sixth sense. A lot of times you'll go around and you're like, oh, I didn't know this was a residency, or I didn't know this residency was here. Or a lot of times, for example, the city that the residency is in does not seem like a major metropolitan city, but it's like 15 minutes outside or something like that, and it'll get overlooked. What you're looking for is value. Is there a place where they're not going to work you every other weekend, but that still can give you a pretty great residency and great experience? When you go to it, it's almost like there's like a lot of times there's like an international fair on the lawn or on the bigger campuses, and you get to like, sample from all the countries and so forth, and they're all so different, and it's really kind of cool. And the same thing is true here when you're meeting people from New York, from Carolina, from the Midwest, from the West Coast, from the South. It is just a totally different vibe with each one. And I'm going to tell you, it's like a lot like internet dating, where when you go in, you're like, okay, this is what I feel like. And then you meet them and you're like, this is not what I was expecting. And then on the other hand, where you were kind of tepid or lukewarm on somebody, it's the other way around where you're like, this is awesome. This is great. This is exactly what I would, this is what I want. But I kind of overlooked them because on paper, they didn't seem so great. But in actually talking to the people, it's going great. Remember, you are trying to get an interview. So it's really more about, am I able to start talking to people in just a very casual way. Not here, I want to tell you everything about myself. Rather, I'm just really kind of trying to find my way. I'm trying to find what would be a good match for me. It's no pun intended. But it really is on feel a lot more than anything else. And that might be a little bit frustrating for you data dependent people. But honestly, it really is. Like, when you meet your significant other or your spouse or whatever, it wasn't like, all right, well, let's see the numbers, let's see your CV. It was on feel. It just seemed right. It just seemed to work out. And the same thing is true here. And so I think that, getting that mindset of I'm really open to this and kind of seeing what's out there. And I think that you're going to find that it goes a lot better. The nice thing is that the first residency showcase is going to be that 1 to 4 the first day. So you can kind of like go through it and like, okay, I did that. This is what I did right. This is what I did wrong. And a lot of it is going to be, I'm just going to go at 8:30 instead of 8 tomorrow morning because that is just madness. Okay. So you go into the showcase and now you're kind of a veteran. You've been there before and now you've kind of marked off some other ones. And now it's a little bit more comfortable going up to people and it's a little more comfortable talking to people. I don't think that it becomes this thing of like, did you see me talking to, UNC? Did you see me talking to Minnesota? Did you see me talking to Iowa? Did you see, like, it becomes very strange. Like, I hit these ones that are marquee residencies and so forth. When really, you're like, okay, I'm with a spouse I can brag about. Well, that's dumb. You're going to be with them for a year. Like, why don't you be with somebody that you actually want to be with for a year or maybe 2? Or maybe you can get a job there. That's what you should be looking for. So anyway, again, you're getting kind of a little more idea of where people are going, what people are doing. And then, again, try to get... My student from a long time ago, Anna, said, wear comfortable shoes. Okay, so wear comfortable shoes. You'll be walking a lot. But also, bring your own lunch. It is almost impossible to get lunch, like, in between. I know there's 2 hours in between, but it is just like, why are you going to spend all this time sitting in line waiting for lunch when you could just pack something or just buy it before and just get a snack and to just go for it later. Again, it's going to be more of those student posters and, maybe it's kind of nice to talk to people and so forth. But I will give you my big tip, which is unfortunate a lot of you will leave Tuesday night, which is if you are there on Wednesday, the resident posters are really what you want to see and what you want to talk to, because those are the ones and opportunities to actually talk to the resident. And that's what you really want, is you want to get past this madness of the showcase to just one-on-one conversations with residents. How's it going? What's it like? Just being very open, just like, look, I've never done a residency. Just what was it like your first month? How did you guys, kind of on board? Are you getting along with your residents? It seems like things are going okay. Some people will be like, this is great. It's going great. And some people will honestly say, stay away. Don't come here. It is nuts, and so forth. So again, I can't emphasize enough. You're really just trying to... They keep saying you got to get FaceTime with the residency director. I don't think that's true, because the residents are the ones that are reading the initial applications. You want to get and talk to the residents and see if it's a good fit, because the more it's going to be a good fit, the more that's going to come out in your letter of intent, the more that's going to come out in your CV, and the more it's going to be very obvious. It's really obvious who fits and who doesn't. Like, it's not like rocket science. It's like, okay, this person has only one clinical in like cardiology, yet we have 5 major clinicals. The person that's going to come here should have 3 or 4. Or this is a very ambulatory experience. Or this is going to be with an experience that's going to have a very tough socioeconomic group. And if you have the volunteering in that area, then you are a good fit. So worry much more about fit than prestige. I can tell you right now that you will just be much happier for it. So again, my big advice for this is focus on talking to people, focus on listening to people, and don't focus on telling people about yourself. You're not going to out impress anybody. It just doesn't happen because there are just too many thousands of people there. So, and then I have the free course. Again, all you do is go to residency.teachable.com, and it's the DIY course, and just use Memorizing 2024. It's an homage to the Memorizing Pharmacology book. It'll give you a $95 coupon, and it'll make the course free. I do have a pharmacology course. This is more of a Naplex review, so this is not the time for that. That's maybe in the spring if that's something you want to do. And then if you want me to help you, I can. You just sign up for the interview prep course. But some of you honestly don't need my help at all. Like, your college has given you a course. In that course, you've written your letter of intent, and you've written maybe some other letters of intent. But if you don't have that, because either the course was so early, like maybe, first half of your P1, P3 year, later in your P2 year, or you really didn't have a course. And some colleges don't. It's super weird. It's not like you pay more for your college of pharmacy and you get more stuff. You can get the most value out of one of the least expensive in-state schools as you can out of the most expensive privates. I mean, last year, one of the most expensive schools in the country had a Naplex pass rate less than 50%. So, again, it's just, do you need somebody to do this and help you with it? Because I really just do it because I enjoy kind of living vicariously through you guys and seeing, can you do this? And I guess the big thing I see over and over again is students are so used to doing everything on their own, and they're not used to having someone help them in this way, one-on-one. Because it's just like, a plumber's gone in and fixed a sink 1,000 times. I've literally written and helped people write LOIs 1,000 times. So you're going to come in trying to do it the first time, which would be okay if it was just a one thing. But this is the worst thing that could happen is you don't do it right with the first one, and then you make 11 copies of it for the other ones. You end up with no interview. So again, I'm really here to show you this is how you should do it. And once you do it this way, then you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. I get what you're doing. That's why I make sure to give you kind of a template with it so you can start mass producing I'm applying to 15, so I need the core one, like a stamp at the printing press, or the treasury, that's stamping dollar bills or $100 bills or whatever. That one has to be perfect. Right? The first one has to be perfect because all the ones coming from it are going to be coming from that one. So I will tell you, though, that the one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to make a template such that, okay, name of residency, name of people I talked to, and then name of residency at the end. That becomes really obvious. You actually want to tweak it a little bit each time you write it. So you use your first one to write the second one, and then use your second one to write the third one, and third one to write the fourth one, and so forth. It really works a lot better, trust me. So again, my turnaround is usually 24 to 48 hours, and it's just a great joy for me to do it. But again, if you just want to do it yourself, there's a DIY course. It's free. Enjoy. And I wish you the best. So if you got questions for me, though, TonyThePharmacist@gmail.com. This has been the Pharmacy Residency and Money Podcast, a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. You might want to check out our available residency audiobooks at pharmacyresidencypodcast.com/books, or you can get your first book free if you've never been on Audible before.
You can work one-on-one with me to get a better residency that will better suit your career, health, and wealth at residency.teachable.com. Feel free to send an invite to Tony PharmD on LinkedIn or email me at tonythepharmacist@gmail.com. Music was by Policy.